Have you ever looked deeply into someone's eyes and felt like there was nothing there? Not the emptiness of sadness, not the stillness of someone at peace, but a vast, quiet blankness. As if behind their words, their smile, or their gaze, no one was truly home. This isn't just imagination. It's not a judgment either. It's a reality that quietly walks among us, a world where not everyone is still connected to their soul. And while you're reading these words, maybe a part of you has felt it too. Like you've been slowly hollowing out, drifting through life unsure of who you are, why you're here, and what actually matters. If you've ever felt that, this video is for you. Emptiness in a life that looks full. In a world overflowing with noise. The noise of information, of desire, of the images we're told to become. There is a silence no one speaks of. It's not the emptiness of lack, but the suffocating kind of fullness. Full of roles. Full of expectations. Full of titles. Full of the endless race towards success. And yet, the fuller we become, the emptier we feel. The more we achieve, the more disconnected we grow. The more we're admired, the further we drift from ourselves. This emptiness doesn't come from failure. It comes from achieving things that never truly belong to us. Have you ever touched what you once dreamed of, only to feel nothing? Have you ever stood in a crowd and felt like a ghost no one sees? Have you ever smiled brightly while quietly wishing the world would just pause? That's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that you haven't lived with your soul in a very long time. The soul, the part of you forgot. The soul needs no name, no validation, no perfection. It only needs you to listen. The soul doesn't speak in words. It speaks in feelings. In the deep sigh after carrying too much all day. In the quiet warmth of watching the clouds. In the tears that rise uninvited from an old song. The soul doesn't demand you quit your job, leave your home, or abandon your life. But it does need you to come home, to yourself. To return to that simple place where you don't have to perform, prove, or run. Carl Jung once said, "Modern man is no longer seeking God, but his own soul." Buddha didn't use the word soul, but he spoke of pure awareness. That which is unborn, undying, unstained, and needing no justification. That is the essence within each of us. Signs your soul is trying to speak to you. The outside world begins to fade. What once excited you now feels shallow. You start questioning what truly matters. You're drawn to silence. You speak less. You crave nature, meditation, and quiet spaces. You feel alone even when you're loved. Because nothing external can fill the gap between you and yourself. You cry for no clear reason. Your soul is knocking. It's been buried too long. You feel a longing you can't name. A distant homeland. A dreamlike place. Where you were once whole and fully you. These signs are not problems to be silenced. They are invitations. First whispers calling you back to the journey home. Back to your soul. The journey back, from false self to true soul. We grow up in a world that teaches us to build ourselves. But rarely does anyone ask, who is that self we're building? As children, we were free, present, and real. Then society arrived, placing mask after mask on us. Be talented. Be successful. Be obedient. Be ideal. We wore those masks for so long that we mistook them for our true face. But the soul is never fooled. It waits for you to break, to get lost, to grow tired even in the middle of your so-called glory. Because only then will you have the courage to take off the mask and face the truth. The truth isn't always beautiful. You might find yourself full of fear, smallness, confusion. But that's the real beginning, the ground from which your soul can finally speak. Zen master Suzuki Roshi once said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. When we return to not knowing, that's when we truly begin." Living with awakened soul in love, work, and daily life. An awakened soul doesn't have to live hidden away in the forest. It might be the person who made your coffee this morning, the preschool teacher, the driver who smiled at you so sincerely. It could be you, if you allow your essence to fully show up. Awakening doesn't make you a saint. It makes you real. More patient. More present. Being there when you eat with your parents. Listening to your partner's pain, not to fix it, but to feel it. Working not to prove something, but to serve from the heart. No job is too small for a big soul. No love is too ordinary for a present heart. A living example. A baker kneads dough and makes bread every day. But he does it with focus, compassion, and pure joy. His bread isn't just delicious, it carries a warmth that people can't explain. When someone asked his secret, he said, "I put a piece of my soul in every loaf." That's what it means to live with soul. No declarations. No spotlight. Just truth and fullness. The dark night of the soul and the rebirth of light. Don't think living with your soul is a gentle path. There comes a stage known as the dark night of the soul. When you feel you've lost everything. Your faith, your direction, even the meaning of life. Everything you once stood on collapses. Your prayers go unanswered. Meditation feels dry. Books bring no comfort. You think you're falling into darkness. But you're actually falling out of your old self and back into your true soul. In that darkness, the only light you have is no light. Only you, raw, fragile, disoriented. And that is when rebirth begins. A living example. A woman who lost her child felt like life was over. She no longer believed in God, in meaning. One day, sitting by a stream with tears running endlessly, she heard a quiet voice from deep within. "I'm here. Beneath all this pain, it's me." From that moment, she never returned to who she was. She lived slower, truer, more present with everyone she met. The pain didn't disappear, but it became a doorway. The dark night doesn't kill your soul. It kills the false self. So the true soul can finally be born. Living as a channel, when the soul becomes a living truth. When you emerge from the dark night of the soul, you don't return to who you were. You become a more honest version of yourself. Brighter, quieter, and stronger. Life is no longer something you must conquer or resist. It becomes a flow you unite with. You no longer live to achieve, but to embody awakening, love, and a wisdom beyond words. You become a channel, a vessel through which the energy of the universe, the divine, or simply pure love flows freely, no longer blocked by ego or personal agenda. 1. What does it mean to live as a channel? It's not about becoming mystical, strange, or special. It's about sitting calmly in chaos and not losing your inner stillness. Saying simple words that make others feel truly seen. Creating, working, and living guided by an inner knowing. Not just strategy, but something wordless moving through you. As Ajahn Chah once said, You don't need to try to become a Buddha. Just live simply, and you'll see that Buddha nature was always there. 2. Signs of a soul attuned to the universe. You are no longer trapped in your old story. Past wounds become sacred marks of growth, not scars. You act not from fear or desire, but from breath-like inspiration. You see others not through judgment, but through the eyes of understanding, knowing every soul is on its way home. 3. Practices to keep your soul's flow alive. Ground yourself daily. Deep breathing, walking barefoot, talking to trees, or simply cooking with full presence. Keep gentle discipline. No need for elaborate rituals. Just consistency, a meditation, a journal entry, a moment of stillness before sleep. Know when to stop. Don't try to save those who aren't ready. Your presence alone is already an invitation. 4. A living example, the awakened gardener. There's an old gardener in Kyoto. Every day, he simply plants flowers and tends to trees. People visit not for the flowers, but for the peace that fills his garden. A young monk once asked, "Why don't you teach Dharma like other Zen masters?" The gardener smiled. "I plant each tree with awareness. Every flower is a sermon. If you can't hear it, maybe you need to sit longer." True awakening doesn't take you out of the world. It roots you deeper into it. With a soul emptied of ego, but full of light. Holding your soul's light in a world of chaos. We're living in a time of constant upheaval. Crisis after crisis. An overwhelming flood of information. And loneliness masked by social media highlight reels. In the middle of this storm, the most sacred thing you can do is keep your inner light alive. You don't have to light up the whole world. You just have to not go dark. 1. To stay lit is an act of courage. When you choose kindness in a world built on competition. When you choose silence while others scream for attention. When you choose honesty among 1,000 masks. That is not weakness. That is strength. 2. The soul doesn't need to win, it needs to live. You don't need to be first. You don't need to be right. You just need to stay true to your frequency. Gentle, deep, and honest. Like a single candle. You may not light the entire room, but you might help someone lost find their way. And in that moment, your soul has done something immense. 3. Remember, you're not alone. In this fractured world, there are others quietly keeping the flame alive. You may never meet them, but they're meditating somewhere, writing something like this, doing humble, kind work in silence. And when you live truly, you'll feel them, not through words, but through resonance. Closing, the soul isn't something to find, it's what you already are. You don't have to go far. You just have to come home, to yourself. When you're quiet enough. When you stop pretending. When you stop running from the pain. When you finally sit with the emptiness. Your soul will whisper, "I've always been here." And then you'll realize, you no longer have to become someone else. You don't need love to prove you're worthy. You don't need achievement to feel complete. You only need to be you. A soul remembering its light. A small flame quietly burning through the long night of the world. And that light will guide other souls home.